Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dynamic GT League's Race 4 of the Radical Series, where we are at Tokyo. And this week, joining us on commentary is Nobody. That's what I've decided to call Ray from now on. How are you, Nobody?
I'm doing very well.
Feeling
Look at
better?
that. Yeah, feeling much better.
Good.
No Barry White singing. And look at the standings we've got there. Not much between the top three.
No, Steve F1's got a bit of a gap, 13 points, but yeah, they're very close. Critical doing all right. He's had two fourth-place finishes recently, and he's fourth in the standings. And it's talking about standings, we're below the standings as we are venturing down the tunnel. Where SGP with his quick fit livery again on pole position. Then we've got Demon R in second place.
Then we've got Steve F1 in third place, followed by Critical in fourth place again.
Yeah. He's not up for threesomes, he likes foursomes instead. Then we've got SRI in fifth place and Nelly in sixth place.
Yeah, that is that up? No, that's Jason Suthers, followed by Twilight in eighth.
Yep, Gary sits in ninth place. There is Artpal in 10th, and then we've got Bob in 11th place. Yeah, Twilight joining us for his first race of this championship. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on in this car, and hopefully he won't pit before we get on to lap 4 as we get ready for the lights. We're at 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and away they go eventually. That was an ever so long hold on the lights there, Ray.
Yeah, Demon R coming over to cover Steve F1, but what we're going to find is them all going in a line except for the back 4 going in a line because of using that slipstream up to this turn 1.
Absolutely. Steve F1 though having a bit of a look up the instant. You know what? A big gap just appeared between Demon R and SGP. I'm wondering if there was a bit of a bump draft that didn't work for Demon R because he's now getting caught by everybody. Critical's there, SRI's there into a very, very tricky third gear right-hand corner. So easy to do what Critical, Nelly and someone else did.
Gary.
Yeah, Gary.
Gary's round in the background there.
Are you calling him fat?
I said round in the... Oh, right. No.
Okay, so Demon R here then with Critical behind him. Yeah, as I was saying, a very tricky first corner. So easy to run a little bit deep, but probably the most difficult corners coming up, Ray, is the left-right chicane here. It looks fairly simple from this camera angle, but given the high-speed nature of this track, if you get it wrong, it goes horribly wrong, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's that first part of it where it's a kind of sharp left-hander. You want to try and get the car slowed down enough but keep enough speed. And it's just tricky because once you get that wrong, you bounce off that wall, you end up bouncing off the next wall on the other side.
Absolutely. Okay, you mentioned about the slipstream up to turn 1. We're going to get a good example of that here, I reckon, as the drivers make their way down towards a sort of double apexed hairpin. They've got to make sure they get the car slowed down here. Very easy to go straight on. But then it's what happens from here, isn't it, Ray? I mean, anyone that decides to not bump draft on this straight, I think is making a big mistake.
Yeah, you need either need to be slipstreaming or have somebody in front of you that you're going to bump and help you keep ahead of the ones behind.
Absolutely. The thing is, if you get 2 cars bump drafting each other, they can go quick. If you've got 3, they can go quicker. If you've got 4, you can go very, very fast, especially if someone approaches at the back with boost. Okay, Demon R here then doing that little bit of bump drafting on the pack, and we see Jason's just bump drafted SRI right past Bob, and there's Artpal following as well as the second and third are closing in on SGP. They won't be getting close enough to make a move, but they get close enough to really close that gap in as Artpal on the packer looking at making a move on Jason.
Yeah, Jason's got SRI beside Nelly and the pack cam there, so they're side by side, which is going to slow them down through this wriggly part of the circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this first part, this first sort of left and right, you can go side by side flat out, but it's when you're getting into this chicane, you really don't want to be side by side here because you have to slow down quite a lot. Arpal might struggle a bit here. Oh, and SRI has into the wall he goes. I don't know if he was nudged into it. Oh, and Jason and Twilight. They've had a big coming together. Oh, and Twilight. Jason's going faster down the straight backwards now.
Yeah, I think he'll overtake the car backwards there.
I think you might be right. Bob rejoins us for a race and gets the embarrassment of being overtaken by a car going backwards. Okay, so we saw Demon R and Steve F1 bump drafted up to SGP on the previous lap. I think they're a little bit closer on this occasion, so maybe they'll be able to do something into turn one. Let's remember or remind everybody as well, Ray, about the pit stop rule.
So you cannot pit until you're on lap 4.
Absolutely. And that doesn't mean that if the leader's on lap 4, you're on lap 3, you can pit. No, you have to be on lap 4. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see what these 2 or 3 can do here. I think Demon R's a bit closer on this occasion to Steve F1 than he was on the previous lap, so he may get into the bump draft position a bit quicker on the pack cam. We've got a train of 3 cars, Nelly, Artpal and SRI. They're bump drafting. Here we go. Yeah, Demon R didn't get the bump draft until after the tunnel on the previous lap. There's the first nudge. Now they'll gain speed. But you know what? I think those 3 behind them are actually not that far behind. I reckon they're catching up to Critical.
Well, there's Critical there, and there's still a bit of gap.
Ooh. Okay, here we go. Battle for the lead. 3 wide. Really? Breathe in, boys. Oh, actually, you know what? That's quite nicely done. The 3 of them get through the corner beautifully there without any contact. And yeah, absolutely. Demon R's trying to make a move for the lead of the race, and that's one of the things, Ray. Do a bit of bump drafting and try and gain down the first straight. You kind of need to make the move into or out of one, and then see if you can break away. But SGP's having a look, getting Demon R offline for this left-right chicane. They've done well to get through there without any contact with each other or the wall. But here comes Steve F1 now.
Yeah, it looks like he just settled in behind, but there's still. It looked as if the SGP was still slowed down, so might see Steve F1 go for a move into this next corner, or probably I think he's too far back now.
I think you might be right on the pack camps getting very busy around the back of Nelly, and they have gained on Critical. They've gained a lot on, they've gained quite a lot on Critical, so if they continue to work together, they'll catch him up rather rapidly. Bob getting in on that as well. Steve F1 has dropped off a bit, hasn't he? But, as we saw, as SGP having a look at the inside, Demon R was in that 3rd place, did the bump drafting and was able to take the lead of the race, so maybe that's what Steve F1 was sort of thinking through the lap. Doesn't need to make a move, do a bit of bump drafting here and see if he can take the lead, as it is getting very busy again on that pack cam.
Yeah, behind Nelly, but now SRI's without Artpal at the moment, but the cars tend to move over to the left-hand side of the track, so SRI will find himself dropping down the order until he can slide in behind and get some slipstream.
Yeah, Bob's giving Artpal the bump draft. Oh, here comes, is that Jason? No, it's Gary. Instead of bump drafting, though, he's gone for the move. SGP's going for the move on Demon R as well. Didn't go for the bump way. Went for a little bit of bump draft. And then, trying to make the move. Here we go. Oh, action on both screens. Where do you look? Tilt your head and watch both.
On the TV sideways.
Okay, 3 wide once again into turn 1. Can we get through without any? Nicely done. SGP makes the move. Steve F1 is on the outside now, though. Maybe able to get a little bit of a tuck back on there. Gary hasn't managed to get past Bob. He's battling side by side. This is a cracking race going on here. 2 fantastic battles. It's very difficult to keep an eye on what is really going on. Steve F1 got a run, but I don't think it's worth trying to make a move here for the front 3. they'll just lose too much time, and the last thing they need is to let someone break away, isn't it?
Always Demon just touched the wall a wee bit there. Might have done. It looked pretty close, but yeah.
I can tell you something, Demonar's never looked pretty. Okay, so something I suppose we should mention as well is, once again, it's very busy on the pack cam. Bob has now got ahead of Gary, and Gary's trying to fight him as Artpal trying to close in. Oh no, it's SRI trying to close in on them as they make their way sort of towards the last corner before the hairpin, and SRI is making moves past Bob and right on the arse end of Gary. Tyres, we've got an 18 lap race. From what I'm hearing from the drivers in the practice beforehand, Demonar's got a very nice tight line there. Gives a good exit on the back of SGP. Yeah, I was hearing that some drivers struggling to do 5 laps, Ray, and some drivers okay with getting 6, but I think very much temperature dependent.
Yeah, it's where are we? Tokyo. It's
Yep.
pretty hot there, isn't it? I've never been. Oh, Demonar's not bum draft.
No, he's not. I wonder if that's because there's a little bit more of a gap between himself and Steve F1 behind. So perhaps thinking that we've got quite a few cars into the pits, which is allowed. It's the end of lap 4. I think, though, this isn't going to work, Ray, because Steve F1's just going to get decent slipstream, isn't he?
Here he comes. There he is. And it's Steve wins.
Yeah. Let's see what happens as we actually get into the corner. And that's helped SGP stay ahead. So Steve F1 hasn't really helped himself, although he can get a little switch back here, can he? He can't. On the pack cam, SRI and Bob side by side into turn 1. Oh, Demonar tags the wall. That'll compromise him big time. I mean, you wouldn't think it'd actually cost you that much, but you can see right here that cost just enough time for Steve F1 to get through.
Yeah. Probably slow you down about 5 mile an hour or something, and then that 5 mile an hour at high speed is quite a lot. Oh, SGP.
Yeah, tags the wall.
That's like free wide.
Oh. Hey, you know what? I think what happened there, SGP tagging the wall. I think Steve F1 had to pedal it a bit to not hit the back of SGP, and Demonar took advantage. He was on the pack cam once again. We've got SRI, Bob, and Twilight now battling it out. Looking at the tyres, Ray, do you reckon they can get another lap out of them?
Yeah. I think we've got another lap. We're coming down to the hairpin, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think, well, as long as the tyres don't go off, I think it's worth trying to go the lap. Do 6 lap stints, it would save you a pit stop. But was SGP? I don't think that was necessarily an attempt at an overtake on Demonar. He did make a move on it on Steve F1 there, though, did he not? Did he?
Yeah, he did. So, let's see, is Steve wins going to work to... They've got to work to keep Demonar within the sights.
Absolutely. Twilight's got himself up to 5th place past Bob. We've got a bit of a gap to SRI. Here we go, none of the front 3 pitted.
Look how close they are.
Yeah. Well,
Probably overtake Demonar.
Yep, and that's what happens when you get hung out to dry. Although now can tuck in behind, get a bit of slipstream, maybe try and re-attack into turn 1. But actually, the slipstream's there, but there is a little bit of a gap. Oh, here we go, Steve F1's pulled to the outside. Let's see if he can make any kind of a move. And we may see... Oh, Steve F1's just tagged the wall. Is he going to run wide here? He may, just looking at the pack cam as well as Critical's closed in on Bob and Twilight. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some moves there.
And also what's going to play a fact is how people fuel up. Are they going to fuel up in first pit stop, or are they going to spread it over how many pit stops they do?
Well, that's a good question, because as we look at the front 3, we're running a good pace at the moment, and it's starting to get a little bit gloomy, Ray, so temperatures dropping. There is a chance that we could have... Oh, Steve F1, I think, just tagged the inside wall. Yeah, he has. He's just lost a little bit of time to SGP, and Demonar's closed in on him.
But look at Demonor's tyres. He's calling it tight, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, SGP sideways, and he's got about the same as what Demonor had.
He's got less.
Oh, Steve F1 has got a tiny bit more. But with it being that rear left that's going, and a lot of the corners here being right-handers, it can easily get crossed up in the corners. So Steve F1 takes the lead into the hairpin. But I wouldn't be surprised if SGP, oh, and Demonor sliding through, and Steve F1 sliding on the way out. I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if SGP was letting Steve F1 go there and think, I'll slipstream him down the straight. I think these three may be pitting now. Ray is Gary on the pack cam making a move on Bob.
Yeah, Gary's. Twilight went deep. Gary got him there.
And he did, and the front three do go for the pit. So, as you said, what they do with the fuel is interesting, because SGP's used more fuel than Steve and Demonor. Critical here now in 4th place. He's pitted not long ago. Go on.
Yeah, but he's not added fuel.
Oh.
So he needs to watch how he's using his fuel and if it's going to last him till he's wanting to pit stop and not make an extra pit stop.
Absolutely, yeah. So he's gone for having a quicker first stop, which will cost him a little bit more later on. The front three have all gone for filling up, and I think that makes sense given that when they come out of the pits, they're going to be in those boost positions. There's Gary closing in on Jason. So this might actually be... No, it can't be the first time Critical racing the DGT League, can it?
I don't know.
I don't
I
either.
don't.
SGP side by
Well,
side.
maybe actually. Remember his group kept playing up, so I don't know.
I think he
Pretty
may
cool,
have.
let him know.
Yeah, I think he may have had a couple of races where he's been in the lead for like a lap and then had to pit. Okay, so the front three came out 7th, 8th and 9th, so they will get boost. SRI's in 6th place, he should get boost unless he is right up the gearbox of Artpal. And then we've got Critical at the front here with Jason. Sorry, that was SRI. I was looking at Critical's car. I went to look at the tyres, and then the tyres were full. I was like, hang on, these tyres weren't full. And then I looked back, and it was SRI we were looking at. What we got then? I think these three are catching SRI rather than SRI catching Artpal. Well, so no, yes, it's there.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
There's that also.
Well,
So how do these? Oh, Steve F1's going for it. He's not hanging about.
no.
He's got to be tight in there.
SGP's dropped back quite a bit. SRI looking at fighting back for this one. See, now here I can understand attempting to make a move into the chicane because into the hairpin. Sorry, because there's a car ahead that you could slipstream, but Artpal's gone deep. That puts Steve F1 and SRI side by side once again. Here comes Demonor. Does Demonor go for a bump draft?
Does he bum draft? Is he wanting to bum draft?
Well, they've all gone for going single file. Gary's popped into the pits. I don't know how many laps he's done on his stint, as now we're getting a bit spread out in the tunnel. We've got Demonor bump drafted, SRI bump drafted, Steve F1 past Artpal. So Artpal hung out to dry, but we're 3 wide. As Steve F1 gives Artpal the slipstream, so Artpal will now bump draft Steve F1. That's sneaky from Steve F1, that is. Because that's kind of going, here Artpal, you've just got screwed, but actually if you bump draft me, I'll help you and I can stay ahead of them others.
Yeah, I think the biggest loser there was SRI.
Yeah, I think you're right. As Demonor trying to make the move up the inside into 1, gets that done as Artpal struggling. I think he's struggling on his side. Went a bit deep as SRI got a bit wobbly. I don't know if SGP may have just tagged him there as on the pack cam. We've got Jason running in 2nd place, still not too far away from Critical. Now, something that's worth pointing out here is the pit lane loss time is not that much here, is it, Ray?
No.
No. Which means that the 3 guys that were leading this race...
Oh no, that's alright.
Artpal went deep into the chicane, hits the wall, and that's exactly what you would say can happen. You hit... Bob's dead! Bob dead! about that.
Medic!
Yeah, so I was going to say...
Yeah.
Go on.
I think SRI scared him because he went in inside, so I think Gappa was just trying to give that space. But SRI did keep it towards the wall, so
Yeah, I think
I don't know.
if you give the room, then it's all good. Okay, Steve F1. At the moment is going to be net leader. I'm thinking Critical and Jason. I think they pitted lap 5. Which means they'll probably be in at lap 10. And I was going to say a moment ago, but yeah, so the pit lane loss time isn't isn't a huge amount of loss. And for Steve F1, DemonR and SGP, they don't really need to be losing too much time right now, because otherwise when Critical, Jason and Nelly pit, they're actually going to be not too far behind them. So let's see, we've got DemonR doing a bit of bump drafting. Oh, we've got Gary and Artpal. I think Artpal and Bob may have had a bit of a moment in the hair, but I think Bob may have actually killed a barrel.
Yeah, I did see it. SRI's get super boost.
Oh, and he's going for the overtake rather than the bump draft, but now he's going to get Hungo to drive.
Depends how close he is towards the corner.
He's still hanging it in there. Can't quite get the move done on Steve F1, but has got the move done on DemonR, and here now comes SGP to get in the mix. So it looks like DemonR's going to lose 2 places as Steve F1 may have just scraped the wall there. Or if he didn't, he was very, very close to it. Steve F1's broken away a little bit here.
DemonR's going for it.
That he is. Now, I don't know when SRI pitted, but if it was around lap 5...
It's a lap before the leaders.
Okay, so yeah, SRI's tyre's going to be struggling a little bit, but side by side they go here. Oh, that's going to... Yeah, this is going to help Steve F1 out quite nicely. Yeah, he's gaining time. DemonR makes the move. SGP looking at making the move. Can they get it done? Can SRI hold it? Yes, he can. SGP having a look around the outside now. But yeah, so this is where SRI's tyres will start hurting. The car's going to slide a bit.
Yeah, he's at the wall a wee bit there. Oh, so it's DemonR and SGP.
Yeah, SGP has gone deep into the barrier. Here he goes. This is massively helping out Steve F1. He's opened that gap up rather nicely. Okay, it's going to be interesting to see when the current front 3 are going to be pitting, as SGP looking at making the move, can't quite get it done on entry, and Twilight now closing the gap on these guys.
He's going deep to get the better straight line. Oh, that was nearly a corner cut there, but yeah, he went deep to get the better exit. But is he going to go for the move on SRI? Is he going to bump SRI?
Okay, Critical into the pits. He didn't have enough fuel for another lap. Well, maybe he did. Nelly in the pits as well. He'll have a shorter pit stop. SGP is doing the bump draft, and SRI is continuing on. So they're going for another lap. Jason has continued on as well. So let's see how much time Critical and Nelly have gained or lost, as we've got a triple. Well, this is a good thing to do right now, though, because Steve F1 has opened that gap up. So these guys do kind of need to work together to try and close that gap back. But SRI's thinking, no, I've bump drafted you down the straight. I'm going to make the move in the corner, and just there.
He was sliding a wee bit deep there and just got in the pathway. Oh, he's hit the wall.
Yeah, easily done. Into the barrier, into the car, and he is slowing down for DemonR. Yeah, that's him through. Twilight, as I mentioned, was closing in. He's not closing in anymore. He's there. Okay, so looking at tyres. Okay, well, these guys, was it the previous 3 did 6 laps? So, Twilight into the barrier. Can he avoid hitting the other one? I think Jason. Yeah, I think Jason just tagged the barrier. His tyres are almost gone. So is his fuel nearly. Steve F1 closing in on him quite quickly. This thing, when you've got the amount of tyre left that Jason's got, so it's all the front three, it starts getting a little bit slippery. Let's see how he gets on at the hairpin. Yeah, you can just see Steve F1 closing that gap.
Yeah, I think you'll be behind them coming out the hairpin.
I think we might be absolutely right there. He's got it slowed down, or I was going to say got it slowed down nicely, which he did, but got a wiggle on in the middle of the corner. But yeah, Jason's going to be sliding off under the tunnel, in the tunnel, to go and get some fresh tyres and a new batch of fuel. Now, for those that are pitting, will be pitting on this lap, if they've done 5 lap stints before, the next 2 stints should be quite easy for them because they can do either 3 and 5 or 5 and 3 or 4 and 4 stints, so they should be able to push that a little bit more, or at least not have to suffer with the one tyre.
Yeah, definitely. As we see, Steve F1's got a bit of gap, SGP's got a bit of gap, and then there's Demon R. I think SRI's pitted if
He has,
Twilight.
yeah, SRI has pitted, so we'll see how much time he saves. I tell you, dude, just imagine how much time both people save by now to rush the race.
Couple of minutes.
Yeah, but a couple of minutes a day over the course of a year, that's a lot of time. Imagine what you can do with that time. But they're saying that when bold people wash the face, at what point do they stop?
I've got to do the full head, haven't I?
Well, yeah, they're gonna have to. Yeah, is that what he said to him? You got to do the full head. Okay, we've got Bob here, looking a little bit twitchy, a little bit lag behind Gary. Nelly, having recently pitted, closing the gap up to the corner, so you're not really going to get. Oh, Bob's had a little wobble. I think Bob's tyres might be suffering. Interestingly,
Nelly's going out.
yeah,
I just said Nelly's got past.
but yeah, I was going to say, when we saw Jason, we didn't really see him lagging about, especially nowhere near as much as we saw last week. It was sort of like Bob's a little bit twitchy, but it's okay. Nelly having a look at making a move on Gary. Gary gets a touch deep, but I think Nelly may have given him a nudge and has backed out of it.
Yeah, and that's great to see from the drivers. We've seen how much they've evolved within the league racing. Like, oh, sorry, I gave you a wee nudge, I'll back off and not make the move, compared to when it was Stewart report after Stewart's report. Like, we only get one every so often now. Now I've jinxed it.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta admit, you're the only one that's put a report in so far in this championship. Okay, so we've got Nelly here ahead of Gary, and this is where it would make sense for Gary to now bump draft Nelly, because Bob is going to close in. And I see there is a bit of a gap between these three and Twilight. So, Gary, are you going to do the bump draft? And looking on the back cam, it's definitely getting cloudier out there.
Very cloudy.
Yeah.
And so, Gary, I don't know if Gary knows, there is a point here he can bump draft up to and then go for the moves, but he has bump drafted Nelly. Now he's going round the outside. No, Bob's made it. Bob late on the brakes, or how had Bob done that?
I do not know, but he's got through on Gary. I mean, there may be, I think Gary and Bob have probably got very similar tyre. Yeah, okay, so Gary's tyres, they're okay for another lap. I think if I was Gary, I'd probably pit at the end of this lap and give myself 5 to the end. Not sure.
Critical. Here comes Critical as well, so these are going to be side by side, they're going to be slow through here, so that's going to benefit Critical, but he just doesn't want to get caught up in it.
I'll tell you what, that was a lovely bit of driving by Gary and Bob to get through there without any incident, and yeah, it is Critical gaining by them going side by side.
Yeah, go through them both. Oh.
Okay. On the pack cam, it almost looks like it's raining, but I don't think it is. Demon R not too far away from the back of SG. But oh, we've got a spinner! We've got a spinner Twilight! Wow! Wow! Get it somebody. That was close. I happened to be looking at the track map and saw a blue arrow spinning. Yeah, that was massively unfortunate for Twilight. I would guess his tyres have just gone off. Yeah.
Yeah, and Twilight hasn't done any practice or whatnot because he had no internet. Then he's going to find his first race a wee bit of a struggle. Oh, Nelly with a big sideways bob falling sweet suit or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, well, a moment ago I just went, whoa! Rewind it, folks, and have a look at the left-hand side of the screen when SGP and Demonard are coming out of the hairpin, because Demonard just had a massive sideways moment, like Nelly did. Okay, the front three taking on a little bit of fuel to get to the end of the race. We've got more pitting as well, Gary and Bob. That will actually potentially hurt Steve F1, SGP and Demonard when they come out of the pits, because of potentially not having boost. Just Critical closing in on Nelly, and SRI is there. Yes, so Steve F1 in 4 has got SGP right up his chuff. The gap that Steve F1 had before the pits has gone, and I think that would be down to how much fuel they took on board.
Yeah, SGP must have short filled as Nelly hit the wall there. I don't know.
And I think Critical made a lovely move through 1 to take the lead of the race. SRI just hit the wall there. Let's see if Nelly, I think, yeah, the front 3 now, I do believe they all have another pit stop to do. This is where I'd be tempted if I was them. If you know you can do 5 laps comfortably, pit with 5 to go, which would be at the end of this lap. Okay. Downfield SGP on track on the pack cam. Behind Steve F1 still. But interesting. Steve F1 is not in a boost position, SGP is not in a boost position, Demon R is in a boost position, but probably a little too close to get it.
Yeah. But I'll help him stay, even though he doesn't need it, because we've seen the 3 of them race without the boost. It'll help him. There, oh, SRI gets close.
Well, it'll help him stay close without pushing the tyres, so perhaps save the tyres a little bit while in that boost position. So Critical and Nelly absolutely battering it. I didn't mean to say battering, I meant to say hammering for nail for the lead here. Let's see if either of them is going to dive into the pit. See if SRI is as well. So I've only got 1 more stop to do, so I would at this point do it at the earliest possible convenience. No. Oh, Nelly is. Okay.
SRI.
Yeah, SRI. So I don't. Okay, that's interesting. SRI, I think, might jump Nelly because SRI is only going to. I don't think he's going to need to put fuel in. Nelly will need to put a little bit. But I think both of them could jump Critical because when they come out, they're going to have the boost. There's SGP here making the move now on Steve F1. And Jason and Artpal closing in as well now that Artpal's in the boost position. Okay, SGP's made the move before we get to turn 1. Nice little.
Defending that corner as best as he can. Steve F1's just showing his nose on there, but he's not close enough.
Oh, but he's done enough. He's done enough to make SGP look and drift a bit wide, and the position switches back. He may lose 2 as well. Steve R got through. Yes, he has. Steve R gets through as they now make their way towards the treacherous chicane. And these guys battling is only going to help Critical and Jason and Arpal. Steve F1 a little wobbly on the way in, a little wobbly mid-corner. Manages to survive.
Might see SGP catching up because I think Demon R had to pedal a wee bit there, so SGP might have the greater top end and just bring it in a wee bit. But it seems a bit far up at the moment as well.
I'm wondering if it's just sitting back and thinking hairpin, make straight. So close the gap back a bit, towards the hairpin. Let's see how he gets on. Critical still leading, but surely he's got to be in the pits this next lap. If he isn't, he's going to get caught. Demon R, Steve F1, not side by side. Demon R trying to get Steve F1 looking in the mirrors. He's Gone a little deep, but should be okay there. Yeah, I think SGP was just sitting and waiting for this moment now to see if he can get that slipstream. Jason and Artpal, I think, are side by side in the background. Jason Artpal and SRI, I think.
It's a bit further back.
Into the pit. Stephen R trying to make the move on Steve F1.
Artpal in the pits.
Oh, okay. I didn't realise Artpal was going to need to pit again, but if you need to, you've got to do it. Saw Stephen R try doing this on SGP a few laps ago. It didn't work for SGP.
Who's SGP going to pick again? Is it going to be? Is it the Steve friends again?
Oh,
it looks like that. Oh no, he's not.
He's going for the gap up the inside. Can he hold on? They get through in the entry. And they get through the exit. Nicely done. SGP gets the move done. This is fantastic racing up at the front now. I'm not saying it's not good racing back at the back either.
The question is, where do you want to be in the penultimate lap?
Wow. Well, let's put it this way. We've not really been seeing anybody be able to get up alongside or pass before the start-finish line. So I think you might want to be ahead out of the final hairpin. Okay, on the pack cam, Critical closing in on the back of SRI. And Stephen R now closing in on the back of SGP. And the thing is, if you're a Steve F1, you probably won't mind being in this position as Critical looking to make the move on SRI. They're headed towards the tricky... No, they're not headed towards the tricky chicane. They're headed towards the fairly fast left-hander. But yeah, Steve F1 has just seen SGP go from the position he's in to the lead on the main straight. So Steve F1's probably sat there going, okay, this is no problem. I'll just slipstream them down straight and make the move. Okay, Critical and SRI still battling as they make their way up towards the hairpin.
Yep, and these three, there's not much difference in their lines, is there?
No, not really. I think Stephen R was just having a bit of a look there to see whether he could perhaps get a run. But you posed the question, where do you want to... This might actually be the closest. Yeah, I think this is Stephen R having a look to see whether a move could be done after the hairpin. Because he wasn't bump drafting, he's not bump drafting, look. I don't think it could. I don't think it could be done unless the car ahead has a bad hairpin.
Nelly and Critical side by side. I think SRI's just behind them as well. So I think SRI's behind Nelly. I can see the headlights towards Nelly's side. There we go.
Yeah.
In the pack cam. But as we see Demon R and SGP side by side with Steve F1, is he just hanging back for a lap? Let his tyres cool down.
Here he comes. Don't think there's anywhere for him to go, but the leaders go side by side into turn one once again. Steve F1 maybe on to tuck up the inside of SGP on this occasion. No, he'll perhaps wait to see if anyone runs wide and takes the barrier. SGP goes for the switchback. Now this is tricky. That gap between them. I thought Steve was going to just slide in the gap between them. But yeah, we've said it all along. You do not want to be side by side into the tricky chicane.
Artpal and Critical side by side coming up to the chicane.
Yeah, that SRI got ahead of them. Didn't see that. Apologies. It would have been there on the pack cam. I would guess that was happening while the overtakes was happening up at the front. The front three didn't go side by side through the tricky chicane, and neither did the 5 cars behind. Okay, so these guys are going to be getting ready to start the ultimate lap of the race. Steve F1 just a little bit wide there. A couple of questions, Ray. Have these guys... Oh, pack cam 3 wide! Wow. That wasn't one of the questions. Yeah, so the question is going to have these guys at the front got enough tyre. We've seen them struggle a little bit on the last of their 6-lap stints, and the last lap's going to be crucial because Artpal's SRI and Critical battling with Nelly attacking Jason. There's so much going on. We could almost start doing another bloody pack cam.
Yeah, to see what's going to happen down the straight. That pack cam is very busy.
I would not want to be in Jason's position at the moment unless someone bump drafts him. I think, given that Nelly's in 5th place, I think Nelly needs to bump draft Jason so that Nelly doesn't get swamped. Okay, I think SGP is perhaps moving over the road to try and break the slipstream, as we now have 2 laps to go. And here comes Steve F1. That gap's going to be the slipstream affecting these cars is quite good. I mean, I mentioned it on last week's commentary, but last week's track was not long enough to really benefit from it. Here we go, 3 wide once again for the leaders. Are you crazy?
I'm just watching that pack cam, it's very busy.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephen R makes the move, gets through past SGP. SGP slides. Now gives Steve F1 a run at Dart Pal. Nelly side by side. Jason came out of the hairpin in 4th. Oh no, Nelly. Oh, Jason. I think Jason's tyres have gone. Okay, we've got the battle going on again for the lead of the race as they head up towards the tricky left-right chicane.
Oh, Gary.
Oh.
And Gary's tyres are gone as well.
I think he's hungry.
So SGP on the back of Demon R coming up this track section. He's putting his nose out there.
Nearly got it chopped off as well.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the lad Steve F1 to really close that gap in once again on the back cap. SRI behind Artpal, critical there with Bob closing in. Steve F1 closing in on the back of SGP, gives him a little bit of a touch. I'm looking at SGP's tyres here and thinking, before the first pit stop rate, these guys had around about this much tyre wear with another lap to do. I think the last lap for these front 3 could get a little bit interesting, given their times. Okay, Artpal coming under quite a bit of pressure. So Stephen R.
SGP's tyres are just about the same as Demon R's. Yeah, I think they're going to be... They've got enough of a gap, but it depends how much they want to battle and how much they want to keep that tyre to the end. Do you really need... how much weight do you need to go down the punish straight? That's what might the better traction out the last corner.
Yeah, that's a good point. So Demon R got a bit of a boost there, but I don't know if Steve F1 gave him a little bump.
SRI isn't bump drafting Artpal.
Oh yeah, he's pulled up alongside. Steve F1 has now bump drafted SGP. There's loads of lights coming out of the tunnel. Demon R went into the tunnel in 1st. He's come out in 3rd. SRI is ahead of Artpal, heading up towards turn 1. Is Steve F1 going to be able to make a move on SGP into 1? Not quite. A little bit out on the outside there from the pack cam. Oh my days, it's busy. Who's over the inside? Artpal. Can he get it slowed down? Yes, he can. Critical though, going round the outside. I think he'll have a slightly fresher tyre. SRI now trying to do a switch back as they're 3 wide on the exit. Oh, a little bit of contact.
Yeah, Critical's a lot. Got a lot better tyres, I think, than Artpal and SRI.
Make a massive difference there as well. Steve F1's got a run on SGP here. SGP is fuel light flashing. Nelly making the move on SRI as well, and Steve F1's got a run. Is he going to look up the inside? He looks, but there's nowhere to go. Looks like Demon R's dropped off a bit. Yeah, he's not there. Critical's breaking away. SRI, oh, Steve F1's gone a bit deep into the barrier. That could cost him big time. Demon R now closing that gap up once again. Artpal on the back of SRI now as well. This is crazy. Okay, one more corner to go for these guys, Ray. They've got a slither on the tyres. They just need to get it slowed down, turned around, get the throttle down. Oh, and Demon R giving Steve F1 a little bit of sideways action. That may have just stopped Steve F1 having any opportunity of attacking. What's going on the pack cam there, Ray?
Artpal trying to get past SRI. Oh! Big sideways moment for Artpal.
Yeah.
But now they're going to be in a single line until closer to the line.
Finish line coming up. SGP takes the win. Steve F1 second, Demon R 3rd. Carry on.
Yeah, here we go. Critical, can he get this fourth place? Nelly's there, but I don't think he's close enough. The slipstream's taking effect now. Oh!
You was watching that front bit of the battle. There was a little bit going on, a little bit behind as well
Yes,
between
Bob
Bob,
did that
Arpon, and
part.
Gary. They crossed the line almost they were side by side. Twilight, crossed the line in 10th. Jason, you know what? I think Jason had to do a late pit stop there. I mentioned when I saw him spinning
Yeah,
on
the
the pack
tires are
cam.
only a lap old.
So unfortunately his tyres had gone. But what a race! What a race! I mean, we've seen lots of action in the DGT League as Jason does cross the line in 11th. We have seen a hell of a lot of action in DGT League races. I don't think we've ever had a three-way battle like that for a win. Ever. We've had two-way battles, we've had three-way battles at bits, but not all the way through like that. Absolutely brilliant. But also, from what I could see, brilliant from everybody else, because for anyone that doesn't realise, that is a very, very difficult track. And by that I mean it is so easy to end up hitting a barrier, and as you said early on, Ray, you hit one wall, you can very easily end up hitting 2 or 3 more and facing the wrong direction, as we saw for a few of the guys. Needed that drink. Oh dear. But yeah, cracking race. Well done though. SGP takes the win. That'll close the gap up a little bit towards Steve F1 in the standings. So Ray, do you remember what the next track is? I just remembered.
It's a good track, but I can't remember. That doesn't fucking help me. Sanquhar B reverse.
Yes, it's one of the Sanquhars. A track so different to the one we've just raced. I must admit, I really like this Tokyo track we've just raced on. It's fast flowing, you've got to get a rhythm to it. Like Brands Hatch it's a tricky test, but you kind of got to take it easy, find the rhythm of the track. This Tokyo one a little bit less like that. It's because the corners are so high speed and the slow corners are really slow corners. The Sanquhar we're going to though, it's a lot of sort of medium speed corners. So I think it's going to be easier to lose big chunks of time around that track, but it is a very nice track to drive around. So yeah, have you got any thoughts about that one? It'd be interesting to see what happens with the tyre wear around that track.
Yeah, you've got a couple of tricky corners in the track as well, like before the bridge, like if you mess that up, you're hitting the bridge wall or spinning.
Yes. Yeah.
Even the corner at the other end of the bridge, if you don't get a braking point spot on, you go right into the... Yeah. I mean, and I think the first sector where it's kind of high speed, a little bit of braking before, is it a 90-degree left? Or is it a hairpin? I can't remember.
Which corner?
The sharp left that brings you onto that long straight with the curve up.
It is kind of a hairpin, isn't it? Yeah. Third gear, fourth gear hairpin. Yeah, if you get that wrong, you will lose so much time. But yeah. And
even that the sector before getting up to that hairpin, if you're offline, you're going to be offline for most of that sector, and it could even though the track's wide, it'll still cost you a bit. Yeah.
Not only that, I think if you get offline through that bit, it's going to hurt the tyres. But it'll be very interesting. It would be very interesting to see how everyone gets on. Okay, I've just remembered there's a couple of things I need to apologise for, at least one. regarding last week's race video, I made a little bit of a boo-boo during the edit, and you know how we do this chat right at the end of the race? I mean, I don't know if you'd have listened to the footage, but we do this chat bit, and then I say, right, let's go and have a look at the confirmed standings and the race result and the standings, and it goes straight into it. Well, on last week's race video, obviously I was on my own, and I said, I'm going to stop now, because I've been waffling on for too much, we don't need any more waffle, so we'll have a look at the confirmed result and the championship standings. And I edited it together wrong, and then there was a 10-minute gap of just a blurry car going around a screen before I actually confirmed the race result and the standings. So apologies for anyone that was sat there watching that. 10 minutes of nothing. But there you go. So sorry for that. And the second thing I want to apologise for is next week's race video is not going to be live streamed, but it will be uploaded ready to go live at 8 o'clock next week. Reason it's not going to be live is because there's a good chance we might not be alive, because we're going up to see Connor on Saturday, and yeah, Sunday all depends on what time I get home and what condition we're in, but should be a good weekend. Yeah, anything else you want to add before? Oh, actually, you know what?
Yeah.
Go on. Go on then. Come on. Now, actually, before we did commentary, I said I just need to sort my jokes out, and Ray goes, "Oh, I've got one." About 8 minutes later, he finished writing it down. So come on, it's better be good.
Now you're putting me under pressure.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you've heard this one, but so a boy's grown up and been told by his mother never touch a woman's private part because they have teeth. So one day when he's older, he starts seeing a lovely girl who begins to fall in love with. Things are growing great, but she starts to feel frustrated with his lack of sexual progression within the relationship. So finally she decides to broach the subject. She says, "Hey, I really like you, and I'm getting into a relationship, but how come whenever we're making up, you never touch me? I would love it if you did." He says, "My mum always told me never touch a woman's private parts, they have teeth down there." She was like, "What? That's completely ridiculous. And I'll prove it to you." So she strips naked and spreads her beautiful legs apart, giving him a very intimate view. "See," she says, "no teeth." The young man crouches down, looks carefully.
I'm not surprised, considering what your gums look like.
You fucking bastard.
Oh, look, sorry to steal your punchline, but yeah, I had heard that. I very nearly had that one for myself, but there we go. But yeah, so sorry to kill you, Joe. But it was a good one, and now I understand why it took you so long to write it down. Oh, you know, a couple of commentaries ago, there was a hint of a conversation of something to do with batter that was never really told anyone. So for anyone that is or isn't interested, a chippy near me had decided that they're going to try doing battered chips. Now I like the sound of that. Like, imagine battered sausage batter on chips. That to me is like, oh yeah, go on. So I decided to try and do it in the air fryer. Didn't work. I ended up with a battered potato because it all just clumped together. I did try it though with using a pan and oil, and I tell you what, it actually worked really well. I was quite impressed. But it got me thinking recently about other foods. So recently I've been getting croissants, cutting them almost all the way through, spreading Nutella on the inside, then heat it up in the air fryer for about 4 or 5 minutes. Lovely for breakfast. But it made me think, and you should know, I hope you know the answer to this. What is a croissant?
A French pastry.
It's not. It's an angry
So-
relative.
Alright.
Mm. I've got another one for you if you like. Oh, line. Okay. Well, if that's okay, so Dad's cooking dinner, and he uses deer meat, but doesn't tell the kids. Dad gives them a clue though. There's one of the kids says, "What kind of meat is this?" And the dad says, "It's something your mum calls me every day." And his daughter goes, "Oh my God, Billy! It's an asshole! Don't eat it!" Well, I also found out yesterday that I have a half brother that I never knew about. I wonder
Does he
if...
have the height of you?
No, well, I wondered if it was different mother or different dad, but no, it turns out it was a shark attack.
Alright.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that one I've been saving since last week, so yeah. Oh, hang on. Oh, I've got one more. Sorry, I've got one more. Okay. I'm just going to go with this one because the first two words of it, you'll go, well, this is bullshit. Right. My girlfriend... You missed your opportunity there. My girlfriend set fire to all of her outstanding bills. Do you know what her name is? Bernadette.
Alright.
Right, and on that bombshell, oh, sorry, there is one more thing to mention. Over the Christmas period, we are going to be having our next race before Christmas, which we will actually be racing on Monday. I can't remember the date. Whatever the Monday is.
Monday 16th.
16th. That'll be the last league race of 2024. We would normally do an annual Rivals Challenge race before Christmas, but we're going to move that. So after Christmas, after the new year, I think the first league race will be on the 6th. Information about the next championship will come out soon. We've got a concept for it. We just need to narrow down the car or cars that we're going to use. But don't worry, it's not going to hopefully be too expensive. But one thing I will say, Ray, is if the car that GT7 have announced, the 90s style F1 car, comes to GT7 fairly soon and isn't ridiculously priced, I think we're going to be having a Formula 1, a classic 90s Formula 1 season at some point.
I think it's going to be 20 million.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm hoping it's not. I really am hoping it isn't. Because it would be brilliant to be able to drive something like that. I mean, when we drove the 80s one, that was very interesting. And when we had the Red Bull Junior Championship, that was also interesting. And obviously on GT Sport, the Mercedes F1 car that was on that, I think it's on this as well. I don't know, I've not looked. We just couldn't use it in a race because of the DRS available everywhere, which means you're holding a button for 40 minutes. It's just no point. But yeah, so anything else you want to mention before we disappear?
I don't know, unless there is something I'm supposed to announce and I forgot.
Not that I know of. Not that I can think of. Right, okay, on that non-bombshell, thank you, Ray, for joining us on commentary.
No worries, thanks for having me. And sorry you had to do it yourself since the other two Steves wouldn't say Steve friends, like
Yep.
they wouldn't help you do commentary either. What a pair of bastards, huh?
It's alright though, Ray, don't worry about it. I've been used to doing it myself for years now.
Cheeky fuck.
No, I'm not on about you.
No.
Now you get it.
Right.
Okay, now.
Just...
Okay, now that took a minute, didn't it? Okay, right. Let's check out the conference race result and the championship standings. SGP then taking the victory in the maximum 20 points, with Steve F1 close behind in second place. Demon R a little bit further behind in third on 15 points. Critical with another fourth place finish. You might have to change it to Mark 4 Critical. 13 points for him. Nelly 5th place, scores 12. SRI 6th place, scores 11. Bob in 7th place takes 10 points, while Art Pound in 8th place scores 9. Gary in 9th place with 8 points, Twilight in 10th with 7 points, and then Jason having to do that late pit stop in 11th place, scores 6 points. No penalties to be applied to anybody this week, because SRI didn't report SGP for anything. But no, all jokes aside, there were no reports placed. So yeah, that's a good thing. Okay, let's see then what that has done to the championship standings, and not just up at the top of the table. Okay, so it will appear in a moment. Come on. There we go. Right, Steve F1 still leading. He's on 77 points. He's not going to get the 100% win record in this championship. I don't think we've ever had anybody do that. But yeah, 77 points. He's now 11 points ahead of SGP. Was 13 ahead of Demon R last week, but now he's only 11 ahead of SGP. Demon R, though, is further away from Steve F1 now, so yeah, loses 2 points to Steve F1, so 15 points behind. We then got Critical in the 4th place, 47 points. He's got 6 more than SRI. That could get very feisty towards the end of the season, because it wouldn't take much for either one of those to get another step up the ladder and gain on the other driver. We've then got, ever so close, is Nelly, only 2 points behind SRI on 39 points. 1 point back is Art Pal in 7th place. So yeah, ever so close. If Critical thinks he's only going to come under pressure from SRI, you might want to double check in your mirrors. Jason in 8th place, had a bit of a tough championship so far. 26 points for him. He's 5 ahead of Bob, who's in 9th place. Then we've got Jimmy in 10th place, scores 20 points. He's 1 ahead of Rich Blues, who's in 11th. Hay in 12th on 12. And then we've got Formula Gary, who's now got points on the board. Well done to Gary. 13th place, 8 points. And then we've got Twilight, 14th place on 7 points, now that he has managed to get onto the track as well with his new internet connection and the new place to live. So yeah, big changes for him there. Okay, as we approach the Christmas period, obviously all of us here at DGT League wishes everybody a Merry Christmas, and if you're going to do any drinking and driving, make sure it is only on a computer. Don't go being daft enough to do it in real life. We have got one more race coming up, which is, as we mentioned earlier, from the Sanquhar layout or location. No idea who's going to do well at that track, so you'll just have to join us next week for... Oh, actually, you know what? We might put the race video out earlier next week. 2 reasons. 1, it's very, very close to Christmas, and 2, I might be away next weekend. So yeah, be prepared for the video to either be uploaded and not be live streamed, or to be a few days earlier. But if you want to know how everybody gets on in that race, you know what to do. Hit like, subscribe, smash that notifications bell, and you'll keep updated with all the uploads that we do. Have a good one, everybody, and we'll see you all again soon.